two major projects granted by the GST on solar redox flow batteries and optoelectrochemical sensors worth rupees 35 lakh and rupees 50 lakhs respectively. He has published more than 50 research articles in reputed journals and the conferences. So thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitations, and over to you for the session.
So thank you, Dr. Tamar, for the nice introduction. I am thankful to the organizers and Dr. Tamar for inviting me for this talk in this FDP. So I'll share my PPT. So is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. You can done it on the full screen mode.
Yeah. The slides are changing?
No, sir.
No?
No, it is only the first slide we are seeing.
Let's do this.
Yes, sir. Now it is second and third slide. Yes, sir.
In slideshow mode, it's not changing.
Okay. Slides are visible. You can.
Can we continue in this mode?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good morning, all the participants. So this talk is based on the application of nanomaterials for the environmental aspects like the pollutant remediations or the sensing. So the contents of this talk is mainly this introduction about the nanomaterials, the properties of nanomaterials, the common synthesis routes, and then their applications. So basically these nanomaterials we classify based on their dimensions. As you all know that in case of this nanomaterials, that one of the dimension is confined in the nano range. So they are the 0D, the 1D or the 2D materials, and in bulk form they we classify as the polycrystalline or 3D nanomaterials. So in case of zero dimensional nanomaterials, the common examples are the quantum dots, the fullerenes, or the metal nanoparticles. So their all dimensions are confined in the nano range. The 1D nanomaterials, where this one dimensions, the other two dimensions are confined and one dimensions can be grow. So the examples are the carbon nanotubes, the metal nanorods, or the ceramic rods, the gold metal nanowires, the polymer nanofibers. So these are the examples of this 1D nanostructures. And the 2D nanostructures, they are in the form of the thin films, the graphene sheets, the layered nanomaterials, or the most common example or the most recent one is the borofin sheets, which are one of the derivatives of this boron. Similar structures have like the graphene sheets, and in the bulk form a polycrystal or a dendrimic forms. So the properties of nanomaterials, basically the intrinsic properties of nanomaterials, they depend on the structural parameters, the cohesive energy, and the binding energy density. On the structure parameters, their band gap, their band structures, the mechanical properties, the magnetic properties, and the other properties mainly depends on these structure parameters. And we can change these properties on basis of their compositions, their oxidation state, and by tuning their oxidation states. The other one is their lattice parameters, their atomic density, and the binding energy, which depend on their cohesive energy of the atoms. So we can say that these properties are mainly the atoms generated, the properties generated by the atoms, and these properties we can tune by changing the shape, size, and interparticle distance effect within this nanomaterials. Then the activation energy and this phase transition effects, they depend on the binding energy density. And mainly in nanomaterials, it arises by this quantum confinement effect. So these intrinsic properties we can change by the composition, by the size and shape, and these properties govern the different applications of these nanomaterials. Talk about the synthesis of these nanomaterials. So the common approach, the synthesis approach, mainly we classify on based on the method, like the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. In case of this top-down approach, a bulk material converted into this the nano-size materials, like a ball milling process, where a bulk material convert into powder by transformation by the energy which we are applying to convert this bulk material. And the other one, like the exfoliation of the materials from the bulk. So like in for example, in the graphene oxide synthesis by the Hammer's method, by the using these graphene sheets, the ball milling process or the Scotch tape methods, these are the top down approaches. The bottom up approaches, where we start from the atom and then we synthesize the nanomaterials, like a chemical vapor deposition process, the sol gel process, where we are using the precursors. Then the formation of ions will occur, and then the ionization by this energy, and then they will generate the clusters. So these two are the common approach for this nanomaterial synthesis. So the top-down approach, like the lithography process, the ball milling process. The bottom-up approach we can classify on basis of the phase, like the gas phase or the wet chemical processes. The gas phase, where the precursors are in the gaseous forms, like the physical vapor deposition, the chemical vapor deposition, or the laser ablation method, molecular beam epitaxy, and the spraying process. Similarly, the wet chemical process, where the precursors are in the liquid phase, and they have the ions which will then convert into the material. So the process are the microemulsions, the thermal decomposition, the hydrothermal synthesis, or the solvothermal synthesis, where in case of solvothermal synthesis, we use the solvent, and the sol gel method, the photochemical method, and the sonochemicals method, the chemical reduction or electrochemical reduction, where the precursors are in the liquid form. If we talk about the applications of these nanomaterials, so the nanomaterials have a wide range of applications, starting from this renewable energy, then in biomedical, healthcare, in construction materials, the energy storage devices, the electronic devices, the environmental remediations by degrading the pollutant, and the food packaging, or in case of the sensing applications. So these are some of the examples which is showing the antibacterial activity of these nanomaterials. We can fabricate the self-cleaning windows, self-cleaning glasses by embedding this nanomaterials in glass matrix, or we can use it for the wastewater treatment also. So mainly these applications depends on the catalytic properties of the nanomaterials. So what is the catalysis mainly? So the catalysis is mainly the change in the reaction rate of a chemical reaction due to the participation of a substance which is called as a catalyst. So this catalyst mainly tune the rate of the reaction. On basis of these properties, we classify this catalyst as a negative catalyst or a positive catalyst, a induced catalyst or a auto catalyst. So in case of this auto catalyst, one of the product is working as a catalyst in the reaction. So basically it is changing the activation energy due to this presence of this catalyst, and it increase or decrease the reaction rate. So the catalyst mainly lead to a new reaction pathway which has a lower activation energy. So when we use these nanomaterials as a catalyst, so on basis of their catalytic properties, they can be used as a, yes.
Sir, please make it in the presentation mode, sir.
Dear participants, the presentation mode is not working and I think the slides are visible, so he can continue with this.
Okay, okay, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So on basis of the catalytic properties of these nanomaterials, we can use use these nanomaterials for the bioremediation, like the wastewater treatment, uh, as a as a catalyst in fuel cells, because they have some advantage in case of the homogeneous catalyst and heterogeneous catalyst, and they have some demerits also. The basic properties which makes these nanomaterials as a efficient catalyst, like their high activity, their high selectivity, their stability, and their separability from the process, and they are energy efficient. In case of homogeneous catalyst, mainly catalysis process, the all the catalyst and the reactants and the products are in the same phase, where this heterogeneous catalyst, the catalyst and the reactions phase are the different. So in case of homogeneous catalyst, they have high activity and high selectivity, but the demerit is it's very difficult to separate the catalyst from the process or from the product. In case of the heterogeneous catalyst, their merits are the stability, their accessibility, or the easily separable. But the demerit is their inferior catalytic activity relative to their counterpart, which is the homogeneous, and they require more reaction time as compared to the homogeneous catalysis process. So it depends on the mainly the size of the material, that how much catalytic activity it have, as the surface area will change, their absorbability will change, and their porosity will change. So the catalysis process, we will discuss mainly two catalysis process. One is the photocatalysis process and one is the piezocatalysis process. So the photocatalysis process can be used for the wastewater treatment, the environmental remediation, and in photoelectrochemical cells also. So photoelectrochemical cells, solar cells are for the energy generation devices. So the photocatalysis process is mainly change in the rate of the chemical reactions by the irradiation of the light, either in the UV region or the visible region or in the sunlight. So the catalyst which is working in presence of this irradiation is called as a photocatalyst. In a heterogeneous photocatalysis process, the two phase will present a solid phase, which is a catalyst, and a liquid phase, which is your the the reactant or the product. Like in the wastewater treatment, a water is a liquid phase and our catalyst will be in the solid phase. So the heterogeneous photocatalyst is a most promising advanced oxidation process which has the specific advantage like the other process, like it will not generate it will be work as a complete degradation of pollutant, and the catalyst can be separable, so the additional pollutant will not added in the product. So the a property of a photocatalyst which is required for the reaction is mainly depends on the absorption of the light, that how much light it will absorb, then in what range, what wavelength range it is absorbing the light, then the separation of the electron hole pair. So there should be very less recombination. If the recombination will occur, then there will the charge carrier, active charge carrier will be very less for the reaction. The absorbability of the pollutant, this absorbability of the pollutant mainly depend on the surface area of the catalyst, their porosity. So that's why this nanomaterials is a promising candidate for this photocatalytic reactions. They have high surface area, So the absorption of pollutants will occur, and the redox reaction this is occurring over the surface of this photocatalytic materials, and finally the desorption of the product is also required, otherwise the reaction will get saturates. So how the process will occur? So when the catalyst, the most common photocatalyst is this titanium dioxide. So when we irradiate it with the wavelength, either it's in the visible range or the UV range, so the charge transfer will occur. Electron will go from the valence band to the conduction band, and the holes will generated. So these generated charge pair will then react with the absorbed moiety over this particle, and the reduction and oxidation process will occur. And this reduction and oxidation then generate the this hydroxy radical or the superoxide ion, and these generated ions then radicals then react with the absorbed pollutant and convert it into the CO2 and H2O. It means the complete mineralization of this pollutant. So this one is the process how the pollutant degrades in this photocatalytic process. So, this work is done here in the lab, and it's on this STMO, strontium titanium manganese oxide, and reduced graphene oxide composite for the wastewater treatment. So in this work mainly we tune the band gap by using this reduced graphene oxide, and so you can see the generated photocurrent by this composite, as in the this pure strontium titanium manganese oxide, the photocurrent is very less, and when we make a composite with this reduced graphene oxide, so then this photocurrent is higher. So within this composite the absorption of the light is more, so which is result into the generation of more charge carrier, and it degrades the absorbed rhodamine B dye over the surface. So these are the scanning electron microscopy and transmission electron microscopy graph of this strontium titanium manganese oxide and reduced graphene oxide composite. So you can see in the images that the catalyst is completely entrapped within this reduced graphene oxide sheets, as you can see in this diffraction pattern also, showing the amorphous nature of this graphene oxide sheets. And in case of this pure strontium titanium magnesium oxide ceramic, STMO ceramics, it's have the size within this nano range. So the photocatalytic ability or the activity of this catalyst investigated under the UV range and the visible range. So the catalyst is working within this both range, as the band gap is tuned using this reduced graphene oxide, and the absorption of the light is also more. So within this UV range, it is showing the degradation up to 40 minutes. You can see the complete degradation, and within this visible range, within 20 minutes, the dye is completely degraded. And in case of this control studies, like the degradation under only UV and only visible light, and the rhodamine B degradation under visible light. So you can see in this case of control study, there is not significant degradation. And when we place this catalyst under the dark, so there is some absorption over the catalyst up to 10%. And when we irradiated it with this UV light and visible light, so the complete degradation is achieved within this 20 minutes. And this curve D is showing the kinetic order curve for the photocatalytic degradation of the rhodamine B under visible light and the UV light irradiation. The another catalytic process for which this nanomaterials can be used is the piezocatalysis process. Piezocatalysis is the catalysis by the piezo energy. So you all know this piezoelectric materials, which is one that have the property of converting mechanical energy into electrical energy, and vice versa. It means when we give the mechanical force to these piezoelectric materials, they generate some electricity or electric signal, or when we give the electrical energy to these piezoelectric materials, they deform, like they will bend, or there will be bending or the elongation within this material. So this piezoelectricity is the ability of the material for to generate an electric charge in response of this mechanical stress. And this piezoelectricity mainly origins from this non-centrosymmetric nature of the materials within the ferroelectric materials mainly. So these ferroelectric materials, the perovskite materials, which have the non-centrosymmetricity, and the central atom of this AbO3 material is not in the center, it's displaced within the center, and then it results into the generation of the dipoles within the material. So this piezoelectric energy can be used for the catalysis process, all kind of catalysis process like the environmental remediation or the other catalysis process. So how this piezocatalysis process will occur? So this piezocatalysis process, like this, you can see in this below diagram. So it's a polarized disc. When we apply the compression force over this disc, so it generates the voltage which have same polarity as the Pauling voltage, and when we stretch this disc, it generates the voltage which have the opposite polarity. So it's the piezoelectric signal by the mechanical stress. So this piezo catalysis process can be used for sterilizing, for air purification, for cell treatments, for the polymerization processes, for wastewater treatment or the hydrogen production. And this process can be coupled with the photocatalysis process also if the material have the significant band gap to act as a photocatalyst, and it have the piezoelectric properties also. So in case of this piezocatalyst, when this catalyst is unstrained, then you can see the Fermi level is within this, the valence band and the conduction band, and it's not aligned with the solution. So this one is the band gap band diagram for the solution, and this one is for this piezoelectric. And when we apply the force, like some mechanical force or the strained energy, then the polarization will occur over the surface, and this polarization, yes, this polarization will result into the band bending and align the band with the solution, and then the electron or the hole transfer, the charge transfer will occur within this piezoelectric material and the pollutant which present within this solution, and it result into the reduction and the oxidation of the pollutants.
Yes.
So, yes.
Participants are requested, please keep their mic on mute. You can continue, sir.
So these are the modes of this piezocatalysis process. Basically these three modes act within this piezocatalysis process. One is the bulk polarization. Due to this bulk, when we apply the stress, the bulk polarization is generated due to the dipoles present in this the piezocatalytic material, and these dipole aligned due to this mechanical stress and result a positive and negative charge over the surface, and these positive and negative charges act as absorbent also, like the negative moiety and the positive moiety present within this the pollutants will absorb over the surface, and the electron hole transfer will occur due to this absorption, and reduction and oxidation process will occur, and it result into the complete mineralization of the pollutant. The second one is in the second process, this the small dipoles or within this nanomaterials, the nanodipoles, the small charge carriers will act as a catalyst, like this electron and holes generated within this piezo catalyst at the stress, as the domains are in the nano range. So these small domains will act as a piezo catalyst. So this electron and hole transfer will occur. So the difference you can see in first case, whole bulk material is act as a catalyst. Here the domains are acting as a catalyst, and the oxidation and reduction will occur over the surface of these domains, and then the complete mineralization of the dye will occur. The third one is due to the cavitation. So when we apply the ultrasonic wave, which is also a stress source, and when we apply this ultrasonic wave over this piezo catalyst, so the bubble formation will occur over the surface, and due to this cavitation, the electron and hole transfer will occur over this cavitation, and the pollutant will degrade. So in whole this piezo-catalysis process, this three mode mainly act to for the remediation of this pollutant. So this is one of the example of this piezo-catalysis process using this barium titanium magnesium oxide, which is a ferroelectric material, and we synthesize the two-dimensional sheets, nanosheets of this piezoelectric material, and then use it for the dye degradation using ultrasonic waves. So this work published in the Material Advances 2021. So you can see in this micrographs this thin nanosheets of this BTMO, barium titanium magnesium oxide, and in TM micrograph also you can see the thin nanosheets. So these nanosheets have the piezoelectric properties, and they work as a nano domains for and generate the charge when we apply the mechanical stress, and the pollutant absorbed over this surface of this nanosheets will degrade. So these are the piezocatalytic degradation data of this rhodamine B using this BTMO nanosheets. So you can see in this curve the signature peak of this rhodamine B is significantly degraded when we apply the piezoelectric force over this. When we apply the force over this nanosheets using ultrasonic vibrations, and due to the generation of this piezoelectric charge, this rhodamine B degraded significantly. And in this control study, you can see that when we place this rhodamine B under the vibration without any catalyst, so there is not any significant degradation. And when we add the catalyst with this vibration, so then there is a significant degradation with respect to this time. So this is not C by C0, it's the percentage degradation. And this kinetic curve follow the first order kinetics for the piezocatalytic degradation of the rhodamine B using ultrasonic vibrations. And in this graph, you can see the piezoelectric potential generated by this nanosheets. So this is the voltage, piezo voltage with respect to time, and the piezoelectric current with respect to time. These data is not, this data is with the tapping force over this nanosheets. So the current is in microampere range, but it generates a significant potential for the degradation of the pollutant. The another one is this using this ZNO hollow structures, and in this work we coupled the photocatalytic process with this piezocatalytic process, as this ZNO is the material which have the significant band gap to act in the light irradiation, and it's have the piezoelectric properties also. But not all the structures of the ZNO nanowires and wires have mainly this piezoelectric properties. The particles not have significant piezoelectric properties. So this material we use mainly for the degradation of the antibiotics and the pesticide elimination. And in this schematic you can see the charge transfer by the light irradiation and the piezoelectric the domains, the surface potential generated by this piezoelectric force, and then this charge carrier and this surface potential both result into the degradation of the pollutant. So you can see in this SEM micrographs, these ZNO structures, they have the hollow structures which result into the high absorption of the pollutant, and they have this pitchfork-like structure which have the piezoelectric properties. So this piezoelectric properties investigated mainly by this piezo force microscopy analysis. You can see when we apply the force over the surface, significant potential is generated by these ZNO nanostructures. So these are the investigations of this piezocatalytic property of ZNO nanostructures. You can see in case of the photocatalytic process, there is not much significant degradation, as this photocatalysis process is performed under the sunlight irradiation, and zinc oxide mainly have the band gap within this UV range. So only the component present, the UV component present in sunlight is acting as a is active irradiation for this zinc oxide. So not significant degradation up to 80 minutes. When we apply the piezo force, the degradation is percentage is much higher than the photocatalytic process. And when we couple these two process, so a synergistic effect generated, and within 80 minutes up to 90%, 85% degradation is achieved with this photopiezocatalytic process. So the degradation curve you can see here, and the control studies also, that without any catalyst or the under dark or the dye without catalyst under vibrations have not significant degradation. And when we put it both energy, like this irradiation energy and the vibration energy, we can achieve up to 85 or 90% degradation within this 80 minutes. And these are the kinetic order curve, and you can see this kinetic rate, kinetic constant is high for the photopiezocatalytic process, and the percentage degradation up to 35% only achieved by this photocatalytic process. And then in case of this piezocatalytic process, significant higher degradation achieved with constant time. When we increase that reaction time, then we can achieve up to 90, up to 80 or 90. But these are the comparative study of this photopiezo and photopiezo process. So within a constant time range, these are the degradation percentage achieved by these three effects. And this catalytic process can be used for the other kind of pollutant also, like the malathion, which is a pesticide present in the river water and the agriculture water discharge, and the other one is the ibuprofen, which is a pharmaceutical drug, and which is also present in the wastewater and river water. So these comes through the discharge of you can see the wastewater discharge from the final this pharmaceutical industries or the pesticide industries also. So significant degradation can be achieved for these pollutant also by this photopiezo process. Then to study or to identify the mechanism which is working in this photocatalysis, the piezocatalysis and the photopiezo process, the scavenger test can be performed to identify whether this hole is acting as active radicals or the electrons or the OH radicals or the superoxide ions. So the scavenger test is performed for this photocatalysis. So you can see this EDTA, which is a hole scavenger, this IPA, which is electron this OH scavenger, then the benzoquinone, which is the O2 radical scavenger. So you can see that this EDTA, when we add this EDTA as a scavenger, so the degradation is very less. So this hole is actively participating within this photocatalysis process, and similarly in case of this piezocatalysis process, this OH radicals is acting as a active radicals, and in case of photopiezo process, whole this both three kind of the active radicals, electrons, this OH radicals, the O2 radicals, and this holes, both all three are acting as a the active species for the degradation. Then the generation of this whole generation of this the OH radicals, it can be confirmed by this terephthalic acid test. So it's a method to probe this OH radicals. So in case in this method, mainly this terephthalic acid is converted into terephthalate, and it gives the luminescence at this 435 at the particular excitation wavelength. So you can see in case of this photo process, there is very less generation of OH radicals. In piezo process, more OH radicals are generated, and in case of photo piezo, it have the highest generation of this OH radicals. And this O2 radical, it can be probed using this NBT test, nitro blue tetrazolium test. So in this case, when these O2 radicals are generated, so this signature peak of this NBTs goes down, means this it is degraded. So this blue color is disappear by the complete degradation. So this O2 radical generation is probed by this NBT, and we can calculate the generation of this O2 radicals by this method also. The another potential application of this nanomaterials, which we can say the environmental application also, is the sensing applications. So these nanomaterials can be used as a electrochemical sensors, the field effect transistor sensors, FET sensors. So mainly these sensors, the most common sensors are either the optical sensors or the electrical sensor or the electrochemical sensor. In case of optical sensors, some optical signal will be generated, and in case of this electrical or electrochemical sensor, the electrical signal in form of the potential or in form of the current will be generated. So this metal nanotubes, nanowires, nanofibers, and nanocomposites, which have the significant conductivity, we can use it as a sensors. So these are the different applications which can be used, which can be performed using this nanomaterials based sensors, like the electroactive sensors, SPR based sensors, which is, so this SPR and SERS, mainly these are the optical sensors. The fluorophores also a kind of optical sensors, The colorimetric sensors, which is the example is the gold nanoparticles and the silver nanoparticles, and the mechanical sensors like this cantilever based sensors. Similarly, the piezomaterials are a kind of a mechanical sensors. So nanomaterials mainly have the properties of the high selectivity, high sensitivity, and the rapid response to this biochemical analytes. They have high absorbability also due to the surface area. So that's why they are promising candidate for this the sensing applications. So, mainly these electrochemical sensors, they work based on the change of the electrical potential due to the chemical reactions occur within these analytes and the sensor. So it detects the electrochemical reactions and measures by it by the electrodes, which the sensing electrode. So due to the interaction between the sensing surface and analytes, some oxidation and reduction reactions will occur, and they then generate this electrical signal. And this electrochemical the systems mainly have high selectivity. They have rapid response also, and mainly and the most advantage is they are easy to use tools for the analysis of this the pollutants. So in process of this electrochemical sensing, uh, this it's have this three electrode setup. One is the our working electrode, which is the sensor, the reference electrode, and the counter electrode, which complete the circuit, and this electrolyte solution, which have your analyte, which we want to sense, and some electrolyte. So in case of this sensing mechanism, the oxidation and the reduction reactions will occur when this analyte will absorb over the surface of the sensor, and then it generate the electrical signal in form of in form of the voltage or the current signal. Mostly in case of this electrochemical sensing techniques, we use either the cyclic voltammetry, the differential pulse voltammetry, or the square wave voltammetry. And the impedance spectroscopy is used for the analysis of the equivalent circuit, the charge transfer resistance, or the resistance of the material. So in case of cyclic voltammetry, we use this technique to change to analyze the modification of the surface of the electrode. Like it gives us the signal in form of the oxidation peak and the reduction peak. So this oxidation process mainly occur on your anode, and this reduction will occur at the cathode. So this cyclic voltammetry mainly apply a potential sweep between this to a working electrode with a constant scan rate. So you can also analyze the active electrochemical surface area by this cyclic voltammetry technique. So initially it's performed for the functionalization or to analyze the modification of the surface of the electrode. The another technique is this differential pulse voltammetry, which is used for this sensing applications or to analyze the sensitivity of the fabricated sensors. So as compared to the other one, like the linear scan or the cyclic voltammetry, this differential pulse voltammetry have advantage of the high intensity of the signal. So it basically measures the current between the pulse. So the pulse before the application of a pulse and end of the pulse, and we apply the signal apply the potential in form of the short pulses with the limited amplitude and with a linearly increasing DC ramp. So this first current is attributed to the DC ramp, and the other one is a difference, this I2 minus I1, which reflect mainly the current of this potential pulses. So this signal is the difference of the current between this potential pulses. And the second technique which is used for this sensing is mainly this square wave voltammetry. So the square wave voltammetry have the advantage at it 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 allows it to subtract the background current, and which result into the higher peak resolution. So this square wave voltammetry is also a kind of a pulse technique, and it's based on the series of these potential steps and the pulses. And this square wave voltagram is mainly shows the current change between the pulse steps and the potential difference between the your working electrode, which is your sensor, and the reference electrode. But before performing this square wave voltammetry, we have to optimize the pulse amplitude, the frequency, the square wave step potential, the equilibrium time. So these parameters should be optimized to get a better signal using this square wave voltammetry. The advantage of these electrochemical sensors are that they can be miniaturized using this screen printed electrodes. So screen printed electrodes are the electrodes mainly which have all these three electrodes set up over a substrate, like the working electrode, your counter electrode, and your reference electrode, and it can be used for the on-site detections also. So the advantage is they have compactness, they have consistent chemical performance, low power requirement, they have rapid response, and the reusability also. And the other advantage is a very low sample volume is required for this screen printed electrodes. Like within this 50 microliter, you can perform the sensing. You can sense the material, or you can perform the electrochemical experiment. And the surface of this SPE can be easily modified using or can be functionalized by your nanomaterials or the other catalytic materials. So this one is one of the application of this electrochemical sensors for the pesticide detection, which is a glyphosate pesticide detection, and the screen printed electrode is modified by this reduced graphene oxide for the sensing of this glyphosate. So this work is under one of the project sponsored by the GST, the development of the electrochemical sensors for pesticide detection. So in the process, this the surface of this SPE working electrode is functionalized using this reduced graphene oxide, and the moieties over this reduced graphene oxide moieties present within this glyphosate, they bind with each other and generate a current signal at a particular potential. So within this cyclic voltagram, you can see when we functionalize the surface of this SPE, the black curve is for this bare SPE, and when we functionalize this using this RGO, reduced graphene oxide, the current and current signal at the particular potential is generated. And when a glyphosate pesticide added in this electrolyte, so a significant peak shift is appeared, and by the change in the concentration, this peak is degraded over a particular potential. So it's provide a signal that when by changing the concentration of glyphosate, we can detect by this current signal. Yes. And the other curve is for the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy curve, which is showing this RCT, charge transfer resistance, is decreased when the electrode is functionalized with this reduced graphene oxide. So this charge transfer resistance is mainly the resistance between your sensor or the working electrode and the electrolyte. So how much resistance this electrode is feeling to transfer the charge to the electrolyte. So this RCT is decreased, means we can get the higher current signal by functionalization of this RGU. So the other curve, this curve is showing the cyclic voltammetric curve at the different scan rate. So this experiment is mainly used uh, for the analysis of the active surface area, electrochemical surface area. So it's showing that this the current signal is increasing with increased scan rate, and this signal is increased mainly because at the higher scan rate more species are absorbed or they react with the active surface. So in the sensing experiment, this one is the differential pulse voltagram signal with the different concentration of glyphosate in 1 molar KCl and 5 millimolar potassium this ferrocyanide at the particular pulse height and pulse width. So you can see that there is a significant decrease in the peak potential uh, when we change this concentration of the glyphosate in the electrolyte, and this curve, the sensing curve, shows the linearity within 2 range, and the limit of detection which is for this particular sensor is around 1.45 nanomolar for the glyphosate, and the sensitivity, the selectivity of this sensor can be see by this bar chart, that in presence of the different ionic species and in presence of the other pesticides like this DDVP and the malathion, the current signal is not changing much more, means at the particular potential this current peak is not changing. It means the sensor is have selectivity for the glyphosate. And this second bar curve B is showing the reusability of the fabricated sensor, screen printed electrode sensor, that up to 10 times there is not any significant difference in the current signal using this sensor. And to analyze the practical application of this developed sensor, the experiment was performed using this tap water and the garden soil also. So in these experiments, the known amount of the pesticides are added in this tap water and the garden soil, and then these are analyzed uh, by this developed sensor, and you can see that there is the accuracy of the sensor is very good for this the tap water and the garden soil also. So this developed sensor can be used for the practical applications also. The another work which is performed for the analysis for the sensing of the other organophosphate, like the using this metal organic frameworks. So these metal organic frameworks are the materials which you can say as a the metal particle embedded within the organic frameworks or the organic frames. So in case of this MNFE metal organic frameworks, this the bimetallic nanoparticles of this the manganese and iron entrapped within this the organic framework of this terephthalic acid, and these are synthesis by using the the solvothermal method. So this developed metal organic framework then used for the sensing of chlorpyrifos, which is an organophosphate and a common pollutant found in the river water also and the agriculture discharge. So these metal organic frameworks then used for the modification of the active surface area of screen printed electrodes. So these are material characterization. So you can see this MNFE metal organic frameworks have the purity that the other impurities are not present, and this SEM micrograph is mainly showing that this amorphous, mostly this polymeric network, amorphous polymeric network, and the presence of this Fe and Mn within this metal organic frameworks can be identified by this XPS survey also. So this Mn2p peak and Mn2p 3 by 2 both are present. Similarly, this Fe2p 1 by 2 and 3 by 2, the both are present in this XPS. This curve is showing me the Raman spectroscopy and the FTI spectrum of synthesized bimetallic metal organic framework, and the organic functional groups of this framework are showing the bond formation of C double bond O C O and CH bond. And at the lower wave number, this is the bond between this metal and oxygen. And this BET curve is showing the absorbability of the developed metal organic framework. They have the porous nature, and the pore diameter, average pore diameter is around 3.80 nanometer for this metal organic frameworks. To analyze the sensing application of the developed bimetallic metal organic frameworks, the screen printed electrodes and modified using this by drop casting, and in the cyclic voltammetry curve you can see the significant increase in the current response after modification of this screen printed electrode, and it's showing a significant oxidation and reduction peak after modification. And this electrochemical impedance spectroscopy was performed to analyze the change in the charge transfer resistance, and this RCT is decreased significantly after the modification. It is showing that sensor can be used, this developed material can be used for the sensing application, as it have the low resistance and high current response. This figure A at the different scan rates, showing the CV curve at different scan rates, and this B and C is showing the linear response of the peak current with the scan rate, and the active surface area can be calculated by the Rendell's equation, and it's around 0.334 centimeters square for this particular sensor. So the mechanism of sensing using this developed sensor is mainly the electrochemical, is based on mainly on the electrochemical reduction of this pyridine moiety in chlorpyrifos. So it absorbed over the surface of the sensor, then reduced, and then due to this reduction, the electrical signal is generated. So to optimize the conditions, the sensing experiments are performed at different pH and different incubation time, as this miniaturized device like this screen printed based electrodes. The signal depends on the incubation time also, and it should be optimized for the repeatability of the sensing experiments. So the pH, optimized pH is around 6.5 for this fabricated sensor. And this figure C, which is this square wave voltagram for the sensor at different concentration of chloropyrifos from 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer. And you can see the change in the signal as the concentration increased, the current response is also increased, and it's showing a linear behavior with respect to the concentration. And the limit of detection for the chloropyrifos can be calculated by this linearity curve, and it's observed around 0.85 nanomolar for this chloropyrifos in 0.1 molar PBS solution, which have 5 millimolar ferrocyanide redox tube. And this left curve is used for the analysis of to analyze the mechanism behind this sensing. So this is mainly the curve generated by the chronocalorimetry experiments, where we mainly evaluate the generated charge with respect to the time. So as the absorbance increase over the surface, then the charge will also increase. So this curve is showing that in case of Bayer's screen printed electrode, this Q absorption charge due to charge generated due to absorption is less, where after functionalization this charge is increased. So it is showing that this mechanism is mainly due to the absorption, is mainly based on the absorption process. So the higher the amount of the pollutant, then the higher amount of absorption will occur. To analyze the sensitivity and the selectivity of this developed sensor, so the experiments are performed in presence of the other common ions and the pollutants present in the water, like the acetate, nitrates, the phosphates, the fluoride, chloride, and the other metal ions. And the sensor shows a very good response in presence of the other metal ions also, as the current signal of this square wave voltammetry is not significantly changed by the induction of this other pollutant. And same experiment as performed with in presence of the different pesticides, glucose, and the sucrose. So the sensing ability of the developed sensor is not affected in presence of the other pesticides also. So it's showing the selectivity and the sensitivity of the developed sensor. And then for the repeatability of the process, or repeatability analysis for the developed sensor, the number of assays performed from using the same sensor, and the current signal is not significantly changed. So it's showing the reusability of the developed sensor also. And then to analyze the repeatability of the process, it means that the sensor fabrication process and the optimization of the ink process, the same experiment is performed by the different electrodes. So it is showing that the fabrication process is also have the good stability and the repeatability, as the the process is showing the similar results for the this 5 number of electrodes. To evaluate the practical application of the developed sensor, the experiments are performed with the tape water and the garden soil. and it's showing that it can be used for the real samples applications also. So these are some of the work which performed by our group on the sensors. So in conclusion, you can say that these nanomaterials are useful for the environmental applications like the catalytic process or the sensing applications. At this electrochemical sensors can be fabricated which have the rapid response, and the compactness and the on-site detection can be performed, and the catalytic process like the electrocatalysis, photocatalysis and piezo-catalysis can be performed by using these nanomaterials for the environmental remediations or the wastewater treatments. They have the antibacterial activity also, so they can be used for the different medical applications also. So these are the members of our research group, the PhD scholars, MTech students and interns who are working in these products, these projects. And so thank you. You can ask questions.
Thank you, sir. The participants are requested to please ask any queries or either post in the chat box.
Should I ask a question?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Myself, Dr. Pankaj Kumar Singh from IIT BHU.
Yes, sir.
Your presentation was very nice. There is some question regarding the cyclic voltammetry results.
Yeah.
Can you say anything about that? How to check whether the cyclic voltammetry result is correct or not? This is the first question. Second
Okay.
question is regarding sensor,
Huh.
regarding the structural basis.
Huh.
How a sensor can be defined?
On the structure basis.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, constructive basis.
A constructive basis, mainly a sensor is defined by the signal, either the electrical signal or the optical signal, which is using for the analysis. The structural basis means what, on basis of the structure of the elements or the structure of the sensor.
Regarding the transfer of energy that is possible in that, some terminology is used. Can you briefly define that thing?
Okay, so after the absorption process, over this sensor, the reduction or the oxidation will occur over the sensor. So it results into the generation of the electrons, and that signal we analyze in this electrochemical sensor. And
Okay.
regarding this cyclic voltammetry, the question is how we can say it's correct.
Yes.
So mainly the cyclic voltammetry will give you the oxidation and reduction peak of the element, which is either present in the electrolyte or present in your catalyst. So the correctness of this cyclic voltammetry, we cannot use it as the element sensing, like in case of this FEMN more, whether it will show the reduction and peak of this Fe or not. So it will mainly we are using it for the sensing application by changing a characteristic peak. So this peak can be appear uh, at the particular potential. So it depends on the reduction potential and the oxidation potential present in the present within this analyte.
Any other participant having any query? He or she can ask directly. Okay.
Antibacterial properties, regarding antibacterial property of these material. can they differentiate pathogenic bacteria from non-pathogenic bacteria? So yeah, it's a good question. There is research going on the development of the electrochemical probes for the microorganisms. So the one method which is very known for the detection of this bacteria is using this quartz crystal. So it's basically a piezoelectric effect of this quartz crystal. So on absorption or of this bacteria over this quartz crystal, the piezo signal is different piezo signals are generated. So the materials, if your question is regarding the properties of the material, so we cannot say that it will absorb the bacteria or not, but the nanomaterials can be used for the degradation of bacteria. Whether for the sensing applications, it will depend mainly the surface potential of this bacteria. In homogeneous catalysts, why the separation of catalyst from product is difficult? Because it's difficult because both are in the same phase. It's difficult as in case of homogeneous catalyst, the catalyst and the reactant and the product, maybe they are in the same phase, so that's why it's difficult. In case of piezoelectric catalytic activity, vibration is used to degrade dye. How you will be sure that degradation is done by piezo and no effect of only vibration? So in the curve we shows that the control studies also that catalyst sorry, this pollutant without catalyst present and we applied the vibration. So in this control study there is not any kind of degradation. So that's why we can say that it's by this only this piezoelectric effect.
Any other queries,
Thank you,
participants?
Any other one? No, I think I have asked all the queries. If there is any other query,
Dear
or I have
participants,
answered
is
all
there
the
any other
questions.
query you can ask right now or post in the chat box, or you can directly ask the expert?
Sir, good morning, sir. This is
Yeah,
Anita from Kongunad Arts and Science College.
yeah.
Sir, can you tell me, is there any specific nanoparticles which is efficient in wastewater treatment?
Nanomaterials efficient in wastewater treatment. Specific nanomaterials.
Yes, sir.
So basically, this wastewater treatment is a catalytic process. So it depends on what catalytic process you are using for this wastewater treatment. There is the wastewater treatment can be performed by the absorption process also. And for this, if you are performing it using this absorption process, then hydrogels, embedded nanomaterials can be a good candidate. If you are using a photocatalytic process, then it will depend on this band gap, the charge transfer, the electron hole recombination, and the absorbability of the material. So it will depend on the process, that what process you are using for the wastewater treatment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, then how about naturally some plants are used for wastewater treatment? No.
Yeah,
If you are
natural.
engaging some plant and nanomaterial combinations, mean how it will work, sir? How it would be?
By using this natural plants, you can synthesize biochar. Biochar is a very good material for as an absorption material, and a combination of this biochar or the carbon material from this natural plants, and the combination of metal nanoparticle and the carbon material can be a good catalytic material.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So
Okay, I think there are no further queries. So thank you very much, Dr. Kushwaha, for joining the session and giving such a brief um, knowledge all about the photocatalytic degradation and the electrochemical sensors for the water treatment. I think this lecture will be very helpful for all the participants. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you all. So can I leave?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
To all the participants, I have posted the feedback in the chat box. Kindly fill this for the first session. As far as the attendance is concerned, that is automatically recorded by the software today. So there is no problem regarding that. Once again, I am posting the feedback link in the chat box. Next session we will have from 12:10 p.m. exactly. So all the participants are requested to join by 12 p.m. So you have enough time now to do your work. We will meet again at 12 p.m. Thank you.